Welcome back, Missouri Tiger fans, to Rock M Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's the shell of Nathan Hurst, because this is the remnants of Before the Box Score. That game ended 21 hours ago. I feel like I stopped vibrating about 2 hours ago. How are you doing, Hurst?
I'm doing good. I'm in a much better place than I was a week ago. Yes, I did have to sacrifice my soul to the evil demons that live under the field of Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Allegedly.
But at least my soulless husk is in a better mood. So, we're doing good.
Why can't you be normal, Missouri Auburn? Why can't you just play a straight up football game?
The crazy thing is Drinkwitz has played 3 games against Auburn in his time at Mizzou. They should have won one of those 3 games. They lost it. They should have lost 2 of those games, and they won both of them. So at this point, we're got the winning record. I guess that's all that matters. We should go into every game and have a lower win expectancy rate than 50%, and we'll probably win that game as long as it's against Auburn.
So to your point, that was 2022. When Nate Pete died for our sins. And that was, we had a missed field goal, and Brady Cook running out to the middle of the field and realizing halfway through his run, oh no, it didn't go in. And then what happened last night? Eli Drinkwitz runs out in the middle of the field thinking that we wanted a field goal, and he goes, oh no, we didn't? Like, where's your depth perception in Jordan-Hare? Is it all wonky in there? I guess it's haunted.
It's part of the hauntedness. It's like a house of mirrors, one of those freaky fun house of mirrors where everything looks misshapen and bizarre.
Missouri won, by the way. I can't believe they won that stupid game, 23-17. It's just it can't be normal. It can't be easy. Even the 2013 SEC championship game featured like a 300-yard rusher, DGB playing out of his skull. 22, 24, 25, like just nutso game-o. I don't know why, but they just bring the worst out of each other. And, whether it's an MRI quarterback coming in to win it or a hot mic defensive end shutting the door, like... I can't think of any moment from this series that I love more or less, and I can't really even pick a moment from last night that I loved more. It's just the big takeaway for me is that this is a team that just doesn't quit. Like, they never seem like they know what they're doing. They never feel like they're really good. They just keep playing, and then most of the time they win close games. And I don't know what Eli Drinkwitz does, but he's got these guys, they just keep going. And sometimes it works. A lot of times it works. What was your biggest takeaway from last night, man?
It was 2 things. On the Mizzou side, it's that just that this is a persistent team. They're resilient, I think is the word that I would use. A resilient team. Just like last week, this past Mizzou teams, previous to Eli Drinkwitz teams, and maybe even the first couple of years he was here, a game like against Alabama, that it was 17-7 at one point in time, 27-17. That game would have finished a 3-score at least victory. Same with last night at 17-10. Actually, at 14-10 in Auburn, driving, about to score another touchdown to go up 2 touchdowns. At that point, previous to about 3 years ago would have allowed that touchdown, and then they probably would have then allowed another touchdown and lost by 3 scores, and that would have been that's just kind of how Mizzou would have handled a game like that for the last 20 years of my experience, minus 1 or 2 years in there. So the fact that this team can withstand playing terribly, withstand some pushes by the other team where they did make some good plays, and still somehow come out the other end of that in the game right there at the end, make a few plays when they had to. They went on a big time drive to tie the game up. The defense decided once the fourth quarter started, they were just simply not going to allow any more scoring to happen, and so did Auburn's kicker, thankfully. And those 2 powers combined, to make the game, to win the game. Auburn. The other thing I thought of was that Auburn is going to do its best to let you win the game. You just have to accept that and take it. Just take the game from them. They'll give it to you. Take it from them, and you'll have it. Mizzou, despite their best efforts, eventually was able to accept the gift that Auburn was trying to give them over and over again throughout the game. And they finally said, you know what? We were done being stubborn. We'll take it from you. We'll make the play at the end. We'll score the touchdown. We'll get the big stop in overtime, or 2 big stops in overtime, and just put this one to bed. So weird, crazy, frustrating most of the time. I was very clammy and sweaty, and I just felt gross by the end of it. But at least I felt gross in a good way, and not in a dirty way.
It's always so funny. I can always tell when the buttholes are clenched. And obviously it's basically just any time Mizzou goes down at any point, but certainly on the road. I'll get way more interactions on social media from people, and they're all negative, all scheming around something about how Drinkwitz or Moore or the quarterback du jour is secretly bad. And they did not play well. They did not play well. To that point, I mean, they had a 26% post-game win expectancy. So they stole one just after having one stolen from them the week before. I know I'm a weirdo. I'm pretty good at detaching emotion from watching Missouri football, good or bad, doesn't really matter. I'm more trying to analyze what's happening at real time rather than getting caught up in the emotions. But even me, once we got to overtime, like I said, I was just like, oh my God, it cranked up enough that I kind of turned that part off. But yeah, Mizzou is persistent, and Auburn is. Well, we said they did not do well under pressure. This is not a team that reacted well to pressure situations. And to that point, I mean, if you look at, you can even look at the quarterly yardage, right? First quarter for Auburn, 58 yards. Second quarter, 64 yards. And I'm thinking, okay, this one's in the bed. You just, get one more score and we could pretty much wrap this one up. And then, credit to Auburn, third quarter, 131 yards. Fourth quarter, 109 yards. That was paired with a 55% success rate in the third quarter, 41% success rate in the fourth. They were moving the ball. It's that poor kicker. And I don't want to make fun of the kid. Apparently he had all of his intestines removed and put back in. And I'm like, could you not find anybody else to do this instead of asking this poor boy who's been in the hospital for months and months to come out and kick a football? You couldn't find anybody else. Not the point. He was 1 for 4 on field goals, and I feel really bad for him because it's not just on him, but if he made any of those, Missouri was not going to win this game. So they were able to move the ball. They couldn't finish with points. And then here's to my point, okay? Adversity. We get to overtime, okay? They're reeling a little bit. Zion Young's talking about his mom and dropping F-bombs on hot mics. Okay. Here, it's crunch time, man. You're on the 25. You got to get points. Field goal or touchdown. What does Auburn do? First overtime, 3 plays, -8 yards. Missed the field goal. Second overtime, 4 plays, -9 yards. Crumbled. Just crumbled. And Mizzou, what do? They weren't great. Didn't look good. Missed a field goal of their own. But they did enough to win. And if you're going to put anything on the tombstone of the Eli Drinkwitz era at Mizzou, I feel like at this point it's going to be they did enough to win. That's it.
Yeah. And yes, Auburn absolutely crumbled in overtime. I think a big part of that was Zion Young made them crumble. He crumbled them almost by himself. Josiah Trotter gets some credit there too for some big plays that he made. But Young had a sack. He had a big time tackle for loss. He, just kind of decided he was going to take over the game at the end. And Auburn's defense didn't do that. They didn't make those type of plays in overtime. They made great plays all game. But once overtime came, they kind of stood their ground in the first overtime, forced a longer than you'd hope for overtime field goal that, Meyer should have made, but didn't. But then the second one turns around and Mizzou just kind of matriculated down the field. They had a big third down conversion to Coleman. That was a big play. Mm-hmm. But then the next, once they got that first down, it was, 4 yards, touchdown. And they had one negative play and then touchdown. So Auburn's defense was not able to make the plays, and Mizzou's defense was. And most of the game, it was kind of the other way around. But when it really mattered, one team got it done and one team didn't.
I mean, yeah, and I think a lot of this, much like the credit for the Alabama game, I think a lot of that went to Missouri's defense. I know I spent a post-game show in this week talking about how Missouri's offense was out of sorts and still in a position to win. It was because the defense did enough to keep Alabama at bay and get the ball to Mizzou's offense, regardless of their quality, enough to be in a position to win. That was the same story last night. Now, to a lesser, this was not as effective an offense as Alabama, but they were still fighting explosive plays, which is the big bugaboo with Missouri's defense. I understand that they're not without warts. I'm not saying they stood on their head or anything like that. What they did do was enough. Again, they did enough. And really, what was that? It was the first Auburn drive of the fourth quarter. They took over with 14 minutes and 23 seconds left. Big explosive run, 23 yards. Big pass to Cam Coleman, 37 yards. Pass to that Singleton kid, 8 yards. We're thinking, oh God, they're gonna score. They're gonna go up 21-0. And then Cobb runs it for 2, and then Arnold tries to get it in on the goal line, first and goal, runs for 3. Tries again on second and goal, run for 3. And then the play of the game, not for MVP because that's Zion Young, but like most impactful defensive player, Marquise Graciel, St. Charles kid, tackle for loss. Not only a tackle for loss, minus 4 yards. He went through the offensive line, grabbed Jeremiah Cobb, and threw him down 4 yards backwards. Because, if that was just a meet him at the line, they'd probably go for it because they were on the 1. Okay? Or, like anything like that. He stopped him and threw him back 4 yards, so they had to settle for a field goal and go up 17-10. If they score a touchdown, it's 21-10. That's ball game. That's basically it.
Ball game for sure.
That's Alabama last week, and then you're scrambling for just a pass drill to close out the game. Play of the game, Marquise Graciel. So glad to see him do it, but that was the biggest play on defense for me, other than everything Zion Young did.
Right. Oh, no doubt. I mean, that was the turning point of the game. At that point, he makes that play. There is a window for Mizzou to win this game. If he doesn't make that play, even if he, as you said, it stones him right there at the 1 yard line, Auburn's going to go for it again. Jackson Arnold's going to run it in for a touchdown. That's what would have happened. And the game is going to be over because Mizzou might have scored another touchdown, but they weren't going to score 2 touchdowns to end that game. Not the way that Auburn's defense was playing at that time. But that stop, just the spark of momentum that they needed, perhaps the spark of resistance that Auburn needed to start their melting process, which they have done consistently under Hugh Freeze. So, that biggest play of his career, no doubt. Congrats, Marquise. I'm so glad you finally made it here. We've been waiting for you. We're glad you're here. Let's keep it up. But yeah, he made another play on the next drive too. Not quite as impactful, but he had another tackle for, if not a loss, and at least stone the running back for no gain, which led to an Auburn punt, and then Mizzou getting the ball at the very end to try and win the game in regulation. But yeah, that was huge. That was huge. The explosive plays, as you said, weren't really weirdly a problem against Alabama, a much more explosive offense than Auburn. But Auburn does have dudes. Really, they have Cam Coleman, and Mizzou still couldn't figure that out. They still had trouble. They go to the trouble of having a safety over the top of the man coverage on the guy that they want, and yet the guy in charge of covering him still doesn't do it. It's not that he gets burned; he just doesn't do it. And then the safety is also late to come over and do his job. So it's like, if either of those guys would do their job a little bit, it wouldn't have had 3 massive, huge, long plays. That's very frustrating. I still can't figure out how that hasn't gotten fixed yet. And it's not, at this point, the big, huge plays aren't a skill issue as much as it's a doing your job issue. Yeah, it's a mental issue, and get distracted and it gets sucked in the backfield. I think Jordan Rogers had really pointed out on the first big play that happened where Toriano was beat, and then Banner was late to get over. Toriano he knows he's supposed to be guarding Cam Coleman, and then he looks in the backfield because Arnold's kind of scrambling out, takes his eyes off the one guy that you have to keep your eyes on, He's the one guy. And, starts for some reason inexplicably comes upfield to try to do someone else's job who was already doing that job. They don't need your help. They're doing their job. You do your job. He didn't. That was down the field. At this point, thankfully, it's water on the bridge for this one. But that, any of those plays could have easily led to a loss.
That's the thing.
And the one time that Coleman actually dropped the ball, that was the one time he was just physically beat. But a guy like Cam Coleman will do that, and you can forgive getting physically beaten by an absolute freak of a 6'5" gazelle. That's going to happen. But when you're just not doing your job, that's what's really frustrating.
And this is, you're only going to see more and more explosive receivers. Like this is just life in the SEC. This is the worst offense Mizzou's going to go up against for the rest of the year. Okay. Like we cannot just rely on the 11th best defense now? Yeah, 11th best defense. We cannot rely on them to just hold on until we figure our stuff out on offense. We can. It's going to break at some point.
Especially because I'm not sure there's a whole lot left to really figure out on offense.
There's not.
I think
you are who you are.
At this point, it's this is what we can do. This is what the talent we have on the field and how they can do it. There's not a whole lot left this season to do differently.
Vanderbilt is the 8th best offense. They're next week. Texas A&M is 6th best. That's in 2 weeks. I guess Mississippi State's 42nd, Oklahoma's 39th, but then Arkansas is 5th. Like, all of those are better than what we just went up against Auburn. They all have just better units than that. That's so the defense is getting asked a lot right now. And, for Toriano, God, he's such a good hitting cornerback. I know that's what he's good at. They just got to sit him down and say, dude, we're going to put you on the best receiver. We need you to cover the best receiver. Don't worry about literally anything else. Please just stand with your man. I'm being overly simplistic about this. I have not coached a down of defense in my life, but that is the problem. And Jordan Rodgers nailed it. I mean, it took him 1 week to figure that out. I think all DCs have figured it out at this point. Is roll the quarterback to Toriano Pride's side, and when he bites, then you hit him over the top. This is not hard. So it's got to get figured out. And I know the Missouri staff knows this. As long as we're talking about stinky things, I said way back, I looked for it. South Carolina pre-gaming. So a couple of weeks ago, Josh Maddock had told us to give our hot takes, and I went in my predictable -8 direction. I said this offensive line isn't very good. And Ahmad Hardy has looked really awesome because he's had to look really awesome against inferior opponents. And when we run into the SEC schedule, we're going to see how bad it is. And here I am. I was right. I have not understood the Joe Moore Award hype. I think this offensive line has been good. They've been great against overwhelmed competition from the Big 12 or South Carolina. But they were whipped last night. And that happens, even to really good units. But Auburn's the second best run defense, and they were also tearing it up in pass rushing too. And full credit to Bo Pabula, because he was pressured a lot. He did not get sacked a lot. He did get sacked, not as bad as Jackson Arnold. But the pressures he was receiving was not turning into sacks because he was getting pressured a ton, which is the offensive line's fault. It's not good, and it's not going to get better. And so I don't know. I think you're going to see more Ahmad Hardy 50-yard days kind of going forward. What were your thoughts on the O-line? Unmute yourself, buddy.
Sorry, coughing and muting and then not muting. It was bad. It was bad from the start, and it didn't get a whole lot better. Anyone really mad at Kirby Moore for this game's I think is misplaced, because as a play caller, you cannot do anything if your offensive line isn't going to block. No matter what play you call, it isn't going to work if you can't block up front for it. So the only thing I argued should have been done more, and I think they're going to have to take a long, hard look at this week and moving forward, is they're going to have to get more involved in the screen game, the quick passing game. They're going to have to get the ball out fast, because the book is out on how you stop this offense. Alabama showed it. Auburn to capitalize it and even took it up a notch. You shoot the gaps with your linebackers. You crowd, four front, you have your best four strongest dudes to lock up on the four guys, four of the five linemen, and then you shoot the gaps, and one of those gaps is going to come open. And your linebacker that's shooting the gap is going to get through, and he's going to stuff the running back. And even if Ahmad Hardy breaks that tackle, which he is great at doing and could do often, you're then going to, the other five guys sitting there at the line, one of those is then going to be able to clean up the mess, or two or three in the case of Auburn, is going to clean up the mess. So that's what they're going to be doing. So they're going to be engaging six guys, if not seven guys, on every play right at the line of scrimmage, because this offense has proven they aren't going to get the ball out, and Prabula has trouble recognizing when pressure is coming pre-snap, and then figuring out who he needs to go to get that hot read out ASAP. He's having trouble doing that, and that's not entirely his fault. He has very little time to do it, and he's started 6 games in his career. So that's something that takes long time to develop. You have to practice and get better and get better. But this time next year, he might be really good at that, but he's just not there yet. So they're going to have to take a long, hard look at how can we get the ball out fast. They did have some success with some screen passes, whether it's to wide receivers, whether it's to running backs in the first half. I think they tried to throw one screen pass in the second half. It was a disaster. It was that pass that ended up being a backwards pass over Robert's head.
Dude, yeah.
In that meltdown of a final series there. But in the first half, that touchdown drive that they had, they threw several screen passes that were very, very effective. One to Johnson, one or two to Manning. And I think Manning's a great guy to throw screen passes to. He's great with the ball in his hands. So they're gonna have to figure out different ways to do it, and different looks to get screen passes out, get that ball out fast, and extend the ball out horizontally on either side of the field quickly, because defenses are going to be bunching up. You're going to have see 6 or 7 guys in the box every down for Vanderbilt here next week, because that's been a proven recipe for success. So they're going to have to find ways to get around that.
And like that play action, Bo is really slow in the play action. He'll take a step and the flip around. I mean, he's already got someone coming at him. Like, it's that offensive line does not give them enough time to do that. Kirby Moore screens, super creative. I mean, I watch a lot of college football. I don't watch a ton, but his, like, I'm going to call it the 2-level screen, where like he sends a guy out, and then you got 2 options. One guy looks like he's blocky, but he's also one of like the inside option, basically, or he could take the outside. That is super creative, and that's usually Josh Manning, and it usually goes for 10 yards. So like,
works.
More of that. It works. I will say, in the fourth quarter, I don't know if you caught this on the last drive. I know the last drive was a disaster. Go back and watch. I think Prabula started figuring out what Auburn was doing from the pass rush, because he goes up to his line and he does the Brady Cook symbol to his receivers. Okay?
Yeah,
go back and watch
I remember him doing that.
He changes it, and it's a little slant to Johnson for 10 yards, and it hits, because he knew it was going into that gap where the safety was going to have to come down, and he was going to be able to hit Johnson in that zone right there. So I think he kind of had an idea at the end of the game what it was going to look like.
It only took 80 plays to get there.
Yeah. So, I would give him credit. Would have preferred it earlier, but okay, maybe he's got it figured out a little bit. But okay, if we're talking receivers, Donovan Olugbide is the best receiver on this team right now. And that is a team that features Kevin Coleman, Speedy Johnson. Like, Josh Manning had probably his best game of his career yesterday. Kevin Coleman is clutch when you need him to be. Olugbide is the guy. If
he's got the highest ceiling. He
does, and he's a freshman. And I don't feel like I'm being crazy saying he's the best receiver right now. That means that somebody's snaps needs to get taken away. I'm sorry. I think Marquise Johnson snaps need to get phased out, and I think Olugbide needs to pick up those. Because right now, Johnson is your worst receiver as far as success rate goes. Let me look it up. Johnson's got a 59% success rate. Not as bad as Brett Norfleet, but Norfleet's a receiver, or as a tight end. Right now, Donovan Olugbide has the second best success rate behind Josh Manning. 63% versus 69%. He has a 72% catch rate. He is getting 9.2 yards per target, which is the best on the team. He has 0 drops. All of his stuff is either short or deep, so you'd like to get a little bit more intermediary in there. But that is your guy. Because when Mizzou was moving the ball, throwing the ball, I'm like, just find Donnie O. And he did. And Josh Mann was great too. But like, Johnson is got a 3% drop rate, and his success rate is like 59%. It's empty targets for him. I would prefer Donnie O or Josh Manning. That's just where I'm at.
I think he can kind of see more snaps at the expense of a lot of guys on the field. He doesn't have to only take over more of Johnson's snaps. I think I agree. Yes, obviously the stats show that Johnson's the lowest success rate. I think he's got the most tools in his bag as a receiver. I think they put him in tough positions. I think the reason his success rate is as low as it is a lot of the times they're throwing him the ball and it's like deep fades where they're very low chance of success anyway, and he's covered well. That happened 3 different times against Auburn. Yeah. He was just completely smothered by the guy covering him. That's not his fault. I think they could use him in better ways. That would improve. We would see the improved success rate there as well. He's just kind of our go deep and do something. I think Alubade would be much better at that. I think those are the snaps and the plays that you do. Alubade's got 4 inches on Johnson. So he's got the ability to go up and win those balls that are kind of thrown up in man situations much more than Johnson. Johnson's the guy that's going to hopefully take the top off the defense deep. He's not the ball winner guy where you just one-on-one throw it up and hope that he comes down with the ball. So they could, go back to the drawing board a little bit of how they use their receivers. They found how Manning is best used, and that's possession guy, get the ball in his hands and let him do something with it after the catch. That's where he needs to be. And I think they figured out what Coleman does well, and he does that well too. But it's kind of calibrating those other 2 guys, because those are by far the four best guys, the guys that you got to have on the field in clutch times. But calibrating who does what best and when to use them, I think is going to be important moving forward.
Yeah. Josh Manning reminds me a lot of Marcus Lucas, if you remember him.
Yeah.
From
I think he's better with the ball in his hands than Marcus Lucas was. But they have similar. They're both very good at finding holes in the zone. I mean, that's kind of what they would do. What Manning does in a lot of his plays is he's good at finding the hole in the zone, sitting down, catching it, and then he can get 8-10 yards after that really well. Lucas, bigger guy, better at probably boxing guys out to get those possession receiver catches, maybe not quite as explosive after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did feel bad for little Bobby Meyer, Big Shot Bob. I do think that it seemed like that ball was going to go in. It went literally over the post, which I feel like it should still count. But
I mean,
whatever.
Had they, I go back and forth, and I was going back and forth at that night about the play call on 3rd down of that first overtime. Mm-hmm. They call the pass play. Initially, like, I'm okay with them calling the pass play because it shows that they're not settling for the field goal, right? They're going to they wanted to pick up that first down. They didn't want to have to kick a field goal, understandably, as we saw. But in hindsight, and this is entirely hindsight, had they run the ball and set it up, even if they only gained 1 or 2 yards, but set it up in the middle of the field, that field goal's easily good. But it was on the left hash. He was going to have to cut it right as a right-footed kicker. He's cutting that ball right. And I think if kickers have to choose, if a right-footed kicker, that's the hash they would want to be on as opposed to the other hash. But no kicker's going to tell you they want it on the hash when they could have it in the middle of the field. So, middle of the field is always
preferred. The one kicker that I knew, he was right-footed and he always wanted it on the left hash, but he just felt comfortable kicking it that way, right? Going from the left to the right. He's like, I'm always way more accurate if I got some room to my right. Every kicker is different, but put it in the middle. And I know kind of, Pribula just tried to like save it and take the sack, because he's like, okay, I have to just move forward and not lose ground. So I think he did well there, but getting in the middle would have been a lot better. I agree.
But I say that, and if they had done that and ran the ball for 2 yards into the middle of the field and he still missed it, we would have been castigating Eli Drinkwitz for not. They should have known that. Why did he settle for a field goal? Yeah. They should have gone, thrown the ball on 3rd down and tried to pick it up. So, there's no winning there. There's no winning there. But maybe call one of those screen passes that we talked about. that perhaps could have picked it up. If it didn't, at least it gets the ball more towards the middle of the field. This is all hindsight.
I know.
And we won,
you still won.
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about it that much.
It's always easier to fix problems after you've won a game. Yeah. I do feel like this should be the symbol of the fake pitch that they did on 4th down for like 3 years, when Cook would just take it off a fake pitch and like get a first down or a touchdown every single time. And they tried it and it did not go well.
It worked once and it did not work the second time that they tried it.
It's not good. So RIP the Brady Cook play. Vanderbilt is top 10, number 10 in the nation, which seems crazy. What does SP Plus see them as? 12th? 8th. 15th. Okay, not too bad.
Where's Mizzou in SP Plus?
8th, 17th best offense, 11th best defense. Vanderbilt is 15th in SP Plus, 8th offense, 37th defense. Awaken the echoes, Ahmad Hardy. Here's your chance.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
the one, we'll talk about this more on Wednesday, but they're not, Vanderbilt's going to take some lessons from what Alabama and Auburn did to slow this offense down. They're not going to have the guys up front to do it as effectively. So there are going to be some more holes for Hardy. I don't think it's going to be like running against Vanderbilt or against Kansas. There's going to be some more opportunity to move the ball on the ground, and they're going to have to, because this offense on the other side is a juggernaut, and they will grind your bones down, just like they've done to everybody else so far this year.
Yeah, it's basically a triple option team, and it sucks because they're right every single time. They don't overpower you, but Diego Pavia is just a squirrely son of a gun. That's going to suck, and it's on the road. Missouri plays like this again, they have no chance. No chance.
Oh, they'll lose by 17 points at least.
Like I said at the beginning of the year, get comfortable to losing to Vanderbilt. If that's the product that we're going to put out there, but you're going to lose to Vanderbilt. But
And they might still, because Vanderbilt's a really good team.
They're good.
If they come out and play well, they could still lose.
They play to identity. If they are not shaken, if Alabama pushed them out of identity, if they can play within their pocket, they're real tough to beat. Especially at home. And it's going to be another sellout crowd. And game day is going to be there. Should we go to this game? No, not worth it. Not worth it.
If this was a different year where I wasn't in the middle of buying and selling a house at the same time, I would strongly consider that. But unfortunately, not for me.
No.
This year. Let's play at Vanderbilt in 2 years, and maybe it could be game day again. Then I'll consider it.
And Diego Pavia will still be the quarterback because he's just got this way of
Yeah.
avoiding all, eligibility requirements, which I love. So Missouri won that game, man. They won that game.
6-1.
They did some very stupid
They don't ask
things.
you how, they ask you how many.
That's right. That's right. A lot of silly penalties. Nick Rodriguez, let's talk about the discipline. Trey Norwood, congratulations on getting away with a pass interference when we absolutely could not afford it. Interesting game, but I'm glad it's over. Hey, we don't have to play him for another 2 years. How happy are you about that?
We don't have to play them at Jordan-Hare for another 4 years. So I'm
better.
ecstatic. I mean, we may not be here in 4 years. The planet may be a puddle of glass, molten glass by that point. We can only hope, because I don't want to have to go there again. So
yeah, I agree.
We'll pray for Armageddon before that comes.
Yeah. And we'll see if Hugh Freeze keeps his job. I don't know. It's not looking too good.
I doubt it. I
doubt it too. If Billy Napier's going to get fired off of a win, I'm pretty sure they're going to fire Hugh Freeze after a loss. So I just think some people are just dotting I's and crossing T's at this point. But it's none of my business. Missouri still won the game. That's the important part. Oh, well, I'm going to rewatch this game a couple times, finish up Beyond the Box score so we can get that out to you guys on Tuesday, and then put that puppy to bed and not have to worry about it anymore, because a win's a win. But yeah, that's going to be the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or you can rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt Nate G. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hearst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M Flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
ZOU.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.